The dates are in. The 15th general election has been announced for November 19th, with early voting on November 15th and nomination day on November 5th. So, are you ready to cast your vote? Welcome to Wacana English Edition. My name is Threa Vidilio, and I will be your host for today's show, where we are going to be giving all of our international audiences and English-speaking viewers an insight into the political, economical, and social landscape here in Malaysia. And today we're going to be speaking about Malaysia's 15th general election that was announced yesterday and is already being deemed the mother of all elections. Eligible voters will be able to cast in their votes for the federal parliamentary seats as well as state seats in Perak, Pahang, and Perlis. And although we'll only know next month exactly who will be contesting for these seats, we will be finding out very soon who they will be contesting for, which seats they will be contesting for. So many things have happened in a very short period of time, and the political turmoil in Malaysia has left everyone wondering exactly what's going to happen. So to dive a little deeper into what we can expect from these upcoming elections, what we can expect from the campaign period, and what this means for the future of Malaysia, I have three fantastic panelists who are here to help me discuss this topic. So I'd like to welcome to the stage, let's start over here, Arina Najwa, Bauer Group Asia Senior Analyst. Thank you very much. Associate Professor Dr. Azizuddin Sani, Political Analyst and Lecturer from University Utara, Malaysia. And Dr. Sue Winchie, UITM Associate Professor. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me here today.
Thank you.
All right, so let's begin with the question on everyone's mind. So this possibly could be the last opportunity for Anwar Ibrahim to run for PM. And Ismail Sabri is the poster boy for BN. But who do you think is best suited for the PM portfolio? I'm going to pass this over to you, Dr. Azizuddin, to begin.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. And I think this, which is I think in all our mind, who's going to be the next Prime Minister, whether we're going to have the same Prime Minister in Dr. Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, or we're going to have a new Prime Minister in through Pakatan Harapan, in Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim.
Yes.
And at the same time as well, I think don't count to Perikatan Nasional, which is I think the former Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin also thinking of to get second time as a Prime Minister. So I think in a way that it's up to the people, the voters, to decide who or which party is going to win and who is going to be the Prime Minister of Malaysia. But for Anwar Ibrahim, probably this is the best chance for him, I think, in order to win the election. And I think yesterday, we can see through an announcement in Perak that he's going to contest in Tambun, Perak, which is, I think, being rumored for quite some time, but became reality yesterday when he announced that he's going to contest Perak, because he's going to target, not only to win the constituency, but also to win the state of Perak. So, in order to strengthen the Pakatan Harapan and to boost, the struggle of Pakatan Harapan in order to win back the mandate which they lost in the after the collapse of the Pakatan Harapan government in 2020. So I think that's for the start.
Dr. Sue, what do you think?
I think this time it's like everyone. If you can see four parties and stuff, right? You see that two previous prime minister and two timbalan. So it is a tight fight, but I do agree with Prof that we should give new chance to new people. I always argue that if the same leader produce the same thing, nothing changed, and if you see that our exchange rate dropped like today as well, when every day I open news and stuff, a lot of turmoil have caused and stuff. So, for us as Rakyat, right, we just want a leader who can lead.
That's true.
It's not just playing games and whatever. Rakyat is tired. Because I've been teaching and I'm asking the young ones, honestly, and you know what they say? Doctor, aku tak tahu siapa, I want to vote anymore.
Yeah.
They are tired. And we were discussing yesterday, we don't want dinosaur politics anymore.
Exactly.
You know, we are tired. We just want a leader who can lead Malaysia towards a right direction and please battle the inflation. Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think this might be Anwar's chance?
I mean, of course, if Pakatan wins, and I think Anwar will finally have his chance, so I think that's great. Within UMNO, it's an interesting discussion because although Datuk Sri Ismail is the poster boy, there is precedence in Johor where Hasni was supposed to be the MB, but then it was switched out with On Hafiz. So could that happen again in this coming election for the Prime Minister role? I'm not sure. Interestingly, if that doesn't happen, who then next, right? So there could be Muhammad Hassan, Tok Mat, who is VP, because I think Zahid Hamidi's court cases are still pending. So not sure how that public perception will play out. So it'll be an interesting one coming from UMNO. But hopefully, you know, if Datuk Sri Ismail is the poster boy, he will remain the poster boy throughout. But agree also with Doctor. I think the next candidate should be about how do they assuage the citizens' fears, their concerns, bread and butter issues. So I think those things are important.
So none of the parties really have a great majority. So who do you think has the winning strategy? We'll go back to the gentleman.
I think in terms of the momentum right now, I think actually within Barisan Nasional to win actually, you know, because we can see what happened after Melaka state election and Johor, and that's why they want to have the general election early because they want to maintain the momentum to win, you know. But as also I think many also analysts also argue about this, that, you know, general election is a different kind of games. Totally, you know, not like state election. So I think this gives some chances to other party, particularly Pakatan Harapan, to maneuver and also to challenge, you know, the Barisan Nasional for power, you know. So I think that's all party is trying to do right now, you know. So, and there's a possibility that I think many people are also saying, even recently Tun Musa Hitam also arguing, saying that, you know, probably there's no party can win enough seat to form a government. So there's a possibility to form what we call a super coalition, meaning that there's a combination between probably Barisan Nasional with Pakatan Harapan, or Barisan Nasional with Perikatan Nasional again, or Pakatan Harapan with GTA, whatever. You know, so meaning that there's a dynamic which I think very interesting to see and observe and analyze in Malaysian politics right now. Yeah.
We have 4 major coalitions at the moment, so there is a lot of cornered battles happening, and we're going to see a lot of interesting things coming out. So do you see any of the parties with a winning strategy that you think are moving forward?
For instance, GTA, they're very smart. They put in a lot of big stars, you know, right? They are very good in negotiation and really surprising, you know, name lists and stuff. But I think that the strategy every party is playing, like, they are really like in a match of like, it's a wrestling match this time. And honestly, I agree with the Prof that you might see the best combo. It might be, you know, they have to form something if anything's happened, because now it's 4. GE14 was 2. So 50-50. First time, 25-25-25. Anyone can win and stuff. Of course, every party now, I can see them campaigning like madness. So they're trying to get the best candidate and negotiation, a lot of things. But their strategy, it's like, but again, that strategy is their strategy. Don't influence the rakyat, you know, towards, you know, don't use dirty ways to win the votes. I would say that. Okay. Yeah.
Do you see any campaign strategies that are kind of coming to the forefront that are stronger than others?
Well, I think, as mentioned, that the parties now, they are very creative in their campaigning.
In what ways, when you say creative?
They're very good in rebranding, and they're very good in selitkan benda-benda yang, you know, their agenda. But, you know, it might be whatever they showcase. It might be, you know, in the university or whatever they're trying to, you know. But the thing is, like,
avenues.
Yeah, different avenues and stuff. They're very, very creative. I mean, nowadays people are so creative. Even on social media,
Even on
honestly,
social media,
right?
yeah.
You can see that, of course, it is a medium for them to pivot forward. But I think that, you know, the riot are smart enough to choose this time. Hopefully, like, you know, 18, like, hopefully, please choose
that's what we
wisely.
hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, please choose wisely, yeah. But of course, yeah. I
Earlier, we
think-
were also speaking about how this is a very interesting time because for so long it was always just 2 parties, and now suddenly it's kind of expanded. You were mentioning this earlier.
Yeah. Actually, you know, we can see that there's a change of more or less our system of democracy. You know, we used to have one dominant party system, which is when Barisan Nasional always win in the election. You know, but suddenly since 2013, we can see the the growth or meaning that Pakatan Rakyat back then and later on become Pakatan Harapan become a force and able to defeat Barisan Nasional in 2018. But now, since the collapse of the loss of the Barisan Nasional and collapse of Barisan Nasional from 13 party into now become 3, then Pakatan Harapan also collapsed, into 2020. Then suddenly there's a merging of Perikatan Nasional and GTA. So suddenly it becomes almost equal on all parties to win. So even though we can see the dominance still there between Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan, but Perikatan Nasional also can contest and also can win seats as well as GTA. So we can see a very interesting dynamic. Even some argue that even though there's no party can win the majority, but suddenly there's one party who won the least seat can become a kingmaker to determine who's going to be in the government. So that's how interesting our nation politics right now. Yeah.
So one interesting thing that's been brought up by many parties is this promise to bring in 30% women candidates. But now, is this something that is actually important to be moving towards, or is this just a show for the audiences?
I don't think it's necessarily a show. I mean, if we acknowledge and look back at history, UMNO Wanita has been strong election machinery and they've been around for years. So they have been the backbone, but I agree. I think the question now is, are they at the forefront? So in Malaysia, we've got less than 20% of female representation in parliament, same also as ministers. So how then do we get that 30% role? So I think at this moment, even if it's a political gesture, personally, as long as you don't sacrifice merit, at least there's some level of representation. But the second part is, and this is something I would like to flip, is no one really places that on the male candidates. No one really says, are they credible, and puts that same pressure. So why then put extra pressure on the women? So if you feel that there are women who want to represent themselves and they meet the criteria, then go ahead, push them. I'm all for representation.
Do you worry that maybe having this quota, though, may push the wrong kind of candidates in just to meet the quota?
For sure. I think that's definitely a risk. But that's why I mentioned merit should not be sacrificed. The bare minimum requirements should still remain, because we also don't want to be a token, right? But at the same time, I think that's what parties should be pushing for. And especially as Prof said, now it's a lot more coalition building, right? You have to get a lot more representation. So I think a lot more parties now will reach out and be like, hey, we've got more women, we've got more orang asal, we've got more, different kinds of communities, come and vote for us. So that could be a potential thing to look at.
I mean, it does also beg the question, what deserves merit? What is considered merit to be able to get a seat, right? You have to think about that as well. So many parties have also said that they're going to bring in new faces, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that it's younger. It just means new. So what do you have to say about this? Is this another show, or is this really happening?
Half show and half, of course, they have their strategy. And you can see that some parties, they use celebrities as contending as well, like Ultimate, Hans Isaac and stuff. You can see a mixture of, this is very interesting. It becomes I think it's more interesting than celebrity shows now, It's a reality show now, you can see that. But it's interesting, but because in overseas and stuff, you see different, prime minister and stuff, a different identity. It doesn't mean that you need to be from the same kind, but of course, you need diverse people who have enough experience, not just taught by the book. If it's too young and stuff as well, you need to have extra experiences to bring in so that you can lead the country. It's not just for the winning show. Although that, yes, it is there for the power and stuff, but at the end of the day, once you get a position, if you can't perform, look at today, the UK Prime Minister just resigned. Exactly. So we don't want the political turmoil again, because investor will go away. People will go away, and if you can see that other countries are growing faster than us, we need to catch back. So it is that we just hope that choose the right one, and the right one, please show your leadership, be transparent, integrity.
If you have the opportunity and the platform, use it for the right things. I mean, new faces doesn't always necessarily mean young, right? So
exactly.
It is also just branching out into different fields with different people, different perspectives. Have you seen new faces coming into politics?
I believe there should be a balance between the old and the new, and more the opportunity given to the new candidate, for example, it is better in our democracy. meaning that we are set up to prepare a new leadership for the future. So we need that. And I think when it comes to the number in terms of the age, of our voters, we have 51% of the voter from the age 40 below, meaning they are youth, So the rest are above 40, So meaning that the tendency of the youth, for example, normally they're going to vote among their peer group, So that's why I think to feel a younger candidates, I think better for any party right now. So I think that's why Barisan Nasional also is thinking about feeling about 70% of the young or even new candidates for this election. I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but that's they are propagating right now. And the other party, as well, And come to the question just now about women as well. I just want to add in, in the discussion, because I'm the only man now in the
True,
middle.
we want to hear what you have to say.
So I think you can argue about the quota system, but at least also given opportunity for the women to contest in the election. If not, then I think no way they can able to contribute, as in the leadership, because in any political party now, women's movement is the backbone for all political parties. So now this time they are not. It's not just a worker for the party, but also can lead the party. So by giving opportunity, even though at the beginning 30%, but that should be the start, and then later on, you can see more women's leader being produced in the country.
So you think just by giving that quota will encourage more women already to try and step into that role? Because I think often when it comes to politics, women just shy away from it, especially leadership roles where you have to take on a bit more responsibility. There's always that thought of, oh, can I really do it? Do I have the time to sacrifice for that? Should I be focusing in this direction? So sometimes women need that push, that encouragement. So maybe that is really what's happening. So let's talk a little bit about the voting age and how is this going to affect this new election? This year, we have 21 million eligible voters. So that's significantly more than last year.
Yeah, so I think now after Undi 18, we've got over 5 million new voters. I think it will be a test at this point. I think from Johor elections, we saw that I think there was still not enough information or awareness about the automatic voter registration. So hopefully now there will be more discussion. And I think, going to the point of young faces or new faces, I think the youth or the younger or this current generation are a lot more discerning. They're more issue-based. I think there's also been a lot of distrust from what's been happening over the past few years. So I think this is where the political parties, the onus is on them to really go out, going back to your point about a strategy. What's the winning strategy? It's these political parties going in. How am I going to handle cost of living? How am I going to handle inflation? How are you going to vote during your floods? So I think these are the things that will definitely shift the balance. However, it's quite strong. I think that distrust and the apathy of not wanting to get into politics at this point in time is still quite strong. Especially if you throw in floods, you throw in COVID.
Definitely.
COVID is still a thing. So I think the parties need to do more to go and raise that awareness and get the youth involved.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to getting the youth involved, most of them are on social media platforms.
Exactly,
so there is an advantage to coming onto all of these social media platforms and actually speaking to them there. I mean, people like Syed Saddiq have made such a big movement among the youth simply from having a platform and speaking about the things that he does. So do you think that this is something that they should be looking towards for the campaigns, is going more social, especially if they want to tap into this 5 million youth?
I think definitely yes, because that social media, you can't ignore the storm inside, especially with everything, the accessibility, the free charge, but and then also you get to voice up. It's very funny. You read the message and stuff. It used to be like you don't even get to listen and whatever they think, but now you can see all the messages. They are very vocal.
Yes.
Actually they care about the country.
Oh, definitely.
It is a good way of training them to get involved and please vote at a young age. In overseas, so they train them to vote since young.
Since young.
Yeah, since young. We should have the culture and not to, shame them away. Voting is everyone's right. We are a democratic country. We need to keep on promoting democracy in a new way. If not, it is outdated.
No, and it's good to include the youth because they will be the backbone of the country in a couple of years. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to be speaking a little bit about the campaign timeline and some of the campaign strategies. Stay tuned. We'll see you in a bit.
My name is Mohaini Mahmood, and I'm the co-founder of Kido Care. It's natural that people fear what they don't know. You know, back then in 2018 when we first started, we were an online babysitting platform. And it was something so unfamiliar to most people. People are so used to the old model of engaging babysitters, pengasuh, you know. People were used to the idea of a live-in maid, a live-in helper, someone who lives in your household to take care of your children. In 2018, we came up with the idea of, you know, a stranger, another woman coming to your house to take care of your children just for a few hours, and then after the service is done, that person leaves.
The first basic understanding of pouring the hot latte, the milk into the cup, is first step you need to put it higher, like this, and then swirl it. Whether you swirl the pitcher, you swing the pitcher or the cup, it's up to you, so that the milk and espresso will be level, will be balanced.
Okay. So here I go, pulling it up.
Then bend a bit of the cup.
Okay.
My name is Azrul Hanafi bin Rauzan. I'm basically the co-founder of Limuka Coffee. The idea of starting this Limuka Coffee, a cafe shop, started during MCO, where I lose my job. And that's when I discussed with my brother and my sisters, my siblings, that we need to do something so that there will be income for the family and also the siblings. The idea of choosing the bike cafe beside of our father shop is because we've been thinking of like continuing the legacy of our parents' business.
Welcome back to the show where we are speaking about Malaysia's 15th general election. So nomination day has been set for November 5th and election day is set for November 19th. That gives us exactly 2 weeks of campaigning. So I'd like to ask, do you think this is enough time? Let's start over here.
I think it's sufficient because, number one, when it comes to, everyone knew when Parliament was dissolved, so it's about a month anyway, so parties had time to prepare. Of course, it's a bit shorter than usual, but I think some members, like I think the Penang Chief Minister also said it's sufficient. It's not great, but it's still sufficient. So I think it is, to a certain extent, enough. I think especially with social media, as we talked about earlier, it definitely democratizes campaigning a lot more. But ultimately, personally, regardless of how long the campaign periods are, it's always the party that has more money that benefits from this. So yeah, I think for now, 2 weeks seems okay.
Seems enough. I mean, the only thing you have to worry about social media is the fake news.
Also very true.
But still, do you think 2 weeks is enough, Doctor?
For me, it's enough, but depends, because we used to have 35 days campaigning when we had our first election, after independence, in 1959, and continue until 1965, and also then 1969. The only time after that, then we have limits, our period of campaigning for even come I think in 2004 that we have 8 days only. Campaigning period, which I think not enough in our context in Malaysia. But I think the only things for me, the problem is that whether it's sufficient for the candidates to campaign in the community. I think it's also a big issue because as we know that even though we talk about social media, everything, but many through my engagement with the voters, they want to see their candidates.
Interesting.
So house to house campaign, I think very effective. Wow. That's why you can see in Melaka and also Johor state election, political parties complaining about they not have time, and actually it's forbidden for them to campaign house to house by the banned by the EC, Electoral Commission. So that's why whether it's enough for 2 weeks to do campaign house to house, which is I think for state constituency, yes, but not parliamentary, which, at one constituency we have 100,000 of, voters. So how the candidate can be able to meet all, the voters in that constituency. So I think it's a big question, which I think we consider in the future to, extend a little bit the time period for campaigning. But for this time, I think for 14 days, I think enough, because we are also considering about flooding,
Yes.
monsoon season.
There are other factors,
other factors
coming
as well.
in here. And I mean, I think also, as we've been speaking about earlier, the coming of social media does change the dynamic of campaigning, because maybe this is the traditional way of going house to house, but how many people are actually more effective to reach through social media rather than going house to house? What do you have to say about this, Dr. Su? Do you think that pivoting more towards social media is a good strategy?
I think definitely yes, and also being intensive on social media as well, because a lot of things have changed. Like house to house, also, if they have the offline opportunity, please go as well. But it's just like the more ways you have, the more chances you have to win and prove yourself.
So is 2 weeks enough then?
No choice, right? No,
choice.
yeah, no
True,
choice.
true.
I was like, it's just like exam. It's like we have no choice, but they just have to squeeze everything in. That's why every hour you see stuff being thrown out. I was like, wow, respect. You're gonna see their campaigning style as well. It's good though to
Yes.
see how well they do it within this 2 weeks and stuff. But things happen, and with the flood and stuff, even you prolong it, it might not be effective though. So it's the effectiveness. It's not the long period. Sometimes, if your campaign is right, your strategy is right, you hit it. Even within 1 week, if you are right. But if I give you 1 month, if you are just, tackling a period but not strategic enough, you're going to lose as well. And also, I guess that leader, you can't use that 1 week to shape yourself. I guess that it is their track record already.
Of
So,
course.
right, have to be smart and go and read their CV and then see their track record, It's not just say, oh, no, it's proven what have you did for this 10 years or 5 years, or, at least that we know who you are. Because if you let them to campaign too long and stuff, a lot of empty promises. It's like sometimes they campaign too long until like, is this true? Or, so sometimes give them in surprise and stuff, you're gonna see the true colors as well.
So one of the biggest things that people have brought up is this campaign timeline. So not just the 2 weeks, but also the period of time of the year that we're in, flooding, monsoon season. So is this going to affect the turnout of the votes? Is this something that people are voicing their concerns about a lot? And is there a reason to be concerned about this, would you say, Harian?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely the floods are a huge concern. And especially floods and COVID, and especially if you're looking at areas that are not as accessible to the polling stations. We even see already some schools being flooded. So what will then be the alternative? So this will definitely impact voter turnout, in addition to the political fatigue. So I think this is where the role of the EC, or just our government, comes in to how can we make it a lot more accessible. I think we recently saw that flights to Sabah and Sarawak just went up, skyrocketed, and it's become accessible. But Malaysia Airlines had a smart campaign. They gave a 20% discount, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so exactly. So these are the things that, need to be considered. And not just the floods, but also, things like being able to travel back to far off places. Yeah.
So, Doctor, do you think that the period that they've chosen for this election was a strategic reason? Have they chosen this now for a strategic reason? Do the floods have something to do with it, or is it just the time of the year? What do you think?
I think this to call for election, I think, is a prerogative for Prime Minister to decide. So they already decided to have election during this period. I'm not sure what's the reason, but among other reasons as well, because of one of the arguments that I think I can agree from Barisan Nasional, saying that they need to have election this year to form strong government, a stable government, in order to face difficulty in the future, meaning that next year, when we have the probably economic downturn or meltdown.
I mean, it's forecasted by everyone that next year is going to be quite rough.
So that's I think logically that's one of the good reasons to have election this year. But of course, when it comes to turnout, that's the concern. When we have flooding, we have also so many things, so many issues during this period. And not to mention people who are taking, holidays at the end of the year, then suddenly they have to stop their what they're planning, then they have to concentrate on the election. So there are many concern on that. So that's why I think in order to have I forgot the thing that I want to say just now.
No
So I
worries.
think to have election this year in terms of turnout, yes, turnout actually makes. I think the turnout is going to be high,
Okay.
because we have quite a significant number of voters, new voters. We have extra 7 million
7
compared to
million,
last
yes,
election.
correct.
Then, but in terms of percentage, it's going to be low. Why I'm saying this is because we have automatic voters, which I think never turn up in election. Then suddenly they turn up this year election. I don't think so. Meaning that, and also when come to undi 18, many of them also I think won't turn up because they actually have they never. First, I think they don't know that they're eligible to vote because being automatically registered. But also at the same time, so they don't. One of the engagement that I did in Perak and Kedah, they say that actually they have problems in terms of identifying which party they're going to vote. Because they see
everyone
that
has
there's no difference between political parties.
Yes.
Because our political party not ideological based, which is a race based. So they concerned on which to decide, who to decide. Then because of that, then decided probably they don't want to vote.
So
Because,
there's not a strong messaging from each
Yeah.
political party, so people aren't sure
Yeah.
how to vote. Is that just Malaysian politics? Is that how most parties kind of lead forward with not a very strong? They try to be subtle in their approach.
I'm not sure, but if you compare to other countries in Europe, for example, you can see also in terms of turnout among young voters also very low. But depends on a referendum or election that they face. But normally the reality is that young voters they probably they don't like politics. That's why they don't turn up in election. But compared to Malaysia, interestingly, the turnout rate normally very high. For example, the last election we have 82%. But that one is not considered. We have now automatic voters that being registered automatically. So I suspect when come to this election is going to be, if we have more than 60% of turnout, I think it's good already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to see lower percentage, which is I think even if lower than 50%, that will trigger the issue of legitimacy of the government later on.
Okay.
Whether our government is legitimate enough to be in government, because they want with the slightly less votes, than they should be. So there's a concern among us analysts right now.
So with the worry of possible floods, are there other mechanisms in place for people to be able to vote should anything happen in flooded areas? Maybe you could answer this, Arina, if you know.
Well, I think there's precedence for the EC to postpone elections. I think they've done this before. I'm not sure. Maybe Prof, you would know. 1999, I think there was one.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
where
there a
were floods.
possibility?
There's a possibility, but it's very rare.
Okay.
So I think that's one option. Number two could be also expanding how people vote, like maybe Sabah Sarawak, maybe expand postal voting. Through that. I know it's going to be difficult. It's not easy because not everyone registers their IC to where they vote. Everyone travels back home. But at the moment, I think the prerogative is on the EC to decide what would be the best cause or the next steps when it comes to having these elections. Yeah.
Yes, please
Because
do.
I think if there's flooding happen, the thing that we can do is actually I think the Majlis Keselamatan Negara, the MKN, I think they're going to study about this, and also the police also make report. And I don't think we're going to suspend or postpone the election, because flooding normally happen on certain area, affected only certain pocket of area, not the whole nation.
Yes.
So meaning that probably that particular area need to be postponed. But in order to postpone, the Agong must declare emergency to that area. That's the only way that we can do.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about political fatigue. A lot of people have been seeing everything happening with our political parties, different coalitions, people jumping here and there. So do you think this is a big hindrance to how people are going to be able to vote? And do you think enough is being done to make it clear to people to understand what the political parties' agendas are? Do you think there's a clear enough understanding, Dr. Su?
I think the rakyat.
You look.
Yeah, I'm fatigued for them also.
Yeah, I can see it in your face already.
I don't want to lie, but yeah, it is true though. If you see the rakyat comments, you can see section that they were like, it's the same thing, and they're so tired, and it's just like this. It's like, you guys play it all. Is it true that is it by the rakyat? Even the same one, are you channeling towards a certain strategy and stuff? So that it's create a very bad branding as well. So we don't want to lose their vote as well, because they are the future people, or even the rakyat and stuff. But the thing is, I really hope this time is going to be different, and we can't be tired, because this is our country.
It's true.
I was like, no matter how tired, just go and make your move and stuff. It does still make a difference, So it's just like, recycling and stuff. It's exactly the same. It's like, if everyone do it, then the world without pollution. But you need effort. No matter how tired, you can't give up.
How do you encourage more people into getting over that political fatigue and actually getting themselves involved?
I was like, don't just listen to every news online, or don't just hearsay, and you judge yourself. Because I know that the voting and stuff, they vote like, oh, my parents will ask me to vote for this and that. No, it's just like career as well. It's like, oh, my parents asked me to do that. No, what do you think? Is this good for your future, your generation? You have to fight for your generation. If not, you just listen to one thing. I was like, oh, this is good for you. I was like, is it true good for your generation? It might be good for certain generation or what. But at the end of the day, I encourage the voter to have independent view. Don't be influenced by your surrounding and stuff, because you have educated people nowadays. Malaysian are really, really brilliant nowadays, youngster and stuff. So think it deeply yourself. You might be different from others. So, don't feel tired, but, it's just like exercising, you are tired, but we have to go to keep ourselves fit as well. So it's the same as politics. You have to keep the country fit by voting and going into that game. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're always a little bit emotionally driven whenever it comes to voting, which is something also in Malaysia, often it's not even about the policies, it's just the person at the front, and people have a certain affinity towards them, and that's how they will vote. So understanding that, it really gives a lot of credit to the people who are in position of at the heads of all of these political parties. But with the internet and social media now, you can kind of make your messaging a little bit more clear. So are we seeing a lot more internet, social media presence, and is it being used to the highest advantage possible, Doctor?
Yeah, most definitely. I think internet going to be the platform being used by all party, to get support and so votes from the people, But I think don't count as well, don't underestimate other medium of that being used, For example, like broadcasting, radio, and also newspaper, which is still effective in a rural area, So meaning that I think political party, in order to win, they have to use all medium that they can use in order to get votes and support from the voters, And talking about internet just now, I think it depends also in terms of age group. So I think TikTok is very popular right now.
Yes.
Very popular among undi 18, So very popular. But I think if you look on other medium, for example, Facebook, I think more towards more elder generation, And we have Twitter, and I think I mentioned to you before that in the last election we can see that Anwar Ibrahim is very popular on YouTube, Dato' Sri Najib very popular in Facebook, KJ, Kerja Muda very popular in Twitter, But this time around I'm not sure, But I can see that all medium being used by political party try to get as much as they can get support and votes for this election. So that's how powerful. And not to mention also the big data, the data analytics being used by all political parties as well in order to lure voters to support them.
Let's speak a little bit more about this. We're going to go to a break, but when we come back, we're going to be speaking more about some of the concerns from the Rakyat when it comes to this general election. See you in a bit.
Renuka. I'm a working mom. I run a training and coaching business, and I've been a long-term user of Kiddo Care. And I think I'm also like strongly recommending my friends who are also in the same boat as I am, like, business owners who really don't have time. I think this is a very good alternative.
My real name is Punitawati, but mainly Kido Care, and everyone knows me as Tabitha. I care to 3 to 6 years old children, and also there's primary school children also. So it's like with children, I have no problem at all. So since then, when I get to know about Kido Care, so I was like a surprise, you see, oh, there's a service, something like this. And I know parents really need this.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dazzle. My name is Anas. So for today's episode, in conjunction with International Coffee Day, we are here at Limoka Coffee to talk about all things coffee and learn how to do some latte and maybe even some latte art. So it's gonna be pretty exciting, so let's go.
Welcome back to Wacana English Edition with me, Threa Vadilio. We are on to the final segment of today's topic, and we're going to be speaking a little bit about the concerns of the Rakyat. So we've spoken already a little bit about the concerns of flooding and how we can deal with that, but something that is on the minds of everybody and that's been spoken about a lot is climate change and how this is affecting not just Malaysia, but all over the world. So do you think that climate change should be involved or included in the political manifesto and something that should be used to combat over the next couple of years? Let's start with you, Harina.
Sure. I think, first of all, the climate crisis is already here.
Yes,
we're already seeing it. I think it's also exacerbating the floods that we're seeing right now. So definitely it should be on the agenda of politicians and how are they going to address it. And beyond floods, we can see the climate change and climate crisis impacting other areas. Food security, for example, is also another issue. And it will definitely impact those most vulnerable, lower income groups as well, because you can see their livelihoods also being impacted. When you're talking about those in the agricultural sector, those in the upper class or upper middle income class, they'll be affected. There'll be a pinch,
Maybe
but
not feel it as much.
Maybe not as much. So definitely there's going to be a push. It's already here. We just need to really, push our politicians to put it on the agenda and make it actionable rather than just talking about it.
Doctor, is this something that you've seen that politicians are speaking about, and is climate change something that is a concern to them that they will be including into their political manifestos?
I think they are talking about climate change right now, but most of the time they talk about flood, And I think in the recent research that I conducted in Kedah, surprisingly, in the issue that I enlist, what is the most issue that you want, you concern most, in Kedah, So surprisingly, they say issue of environment, because probably because issue of flooding in Yan and also Baling affected their perspective, and also in the case of in Selangor as well, when they had big flooding end of this last year and also early this year. So I think this issue of global warming become important, and I think I suspect all of the political party, I think they will highlight in their manifesto and also try to tackle on this issue and put this issue part of their policy when they be in government in the future. I think there's a more concern, consciousness in terms of among people about this issue. I think getting higher now.
Do you have anything to?
Because like other countries as well, they have typhoon and stuff. They definitely
Yes.
put this into the policy and stuff because you need the rakyat to vote. And also it's considerate to see, pemimpin, thinking about that. And Malaysia, you have to know the culture or, the whatever agenda is going to happen and stuff, and avoid monsoon season. Be strategic as well and stuff. And yeah, win it at a good way, to avoid like beyond all these things, Don't use this in your strategy and
Yeah.
try to hinder people and stuff, but should or provide ways of them getting to there easier or save them and stuff, because I know that a lot of station of voting is school are always being flooded so be careful of that as well. Yeah.
Just want to add something.
Yes.
This I think related also to environment issue, which is I think the issue of food security. I think that's the most concerned issue now in
Very
Malaysia,
concerning.
which I think all party will put
Address.
something in the manifesto to tackle on this issue. And I think whoever government being formed after the election, I think this is the biggest issue that they need to tackle beside the issue of economic downturn next year.
Let's touch a little bit on COVID-19. So everything seems to have gone back to normal, but people are still testing positive. So the Health Director General, Tan Sri Noor Hisham, did actually say that even if you were tested positive but weren't showing bad symptoms, you could still go into voting. Do you think this is going to discourage people from going into the voting booths? Or how do you feel about it, Dr. Su?
Well, I think people, I think they are tired already, especially like, during COVID, like, they decided who went on the seat and stuff. I think the riot, they want to come out and stuff. I don't think that will hinder them for voting and stuff.
It won't hinder them.
Yeah, just do the precaution and stuff, And even like some of them as well, they don't mix with people, they also got it positive.
Exactly.
So I was like, whatever it is, don't be fearful, just go for it. Yeah.
I mean, I found it incredible that even though the mask mandate was lifted, you go anywhere in public and everyone's still wearing it. So there's still a lot of caution from the rakyat when it comes to this. But do you think that this will hinder people voting at all?
It won't, because I think DG said that they will have a special line for those who are positive. So I think that may assuage some of the fears, and especially, like you said, people, although the mask mandates have been lifted, people are still very much compliant. But I think it's still there. I mean, there's still some skepticism, especially those who are elderly or those who are mothers or have kids and all that. They will be more careful. I think there's a bit of skepticism there, or they need to be careful, maybe, but not so bad. I feel.
Nothing that's going to affect the voting in such a bad way. Well, we talked about this earlier about the skyrocketing flight prices. So, what's happened? Why are the prices going up? Is this a strategy, or is this what's going on? Maybe, Doctor, you could take this. Give us some insight.
That's purely business,
Is it?
When there's a high demand, then I think there's opportunity for the business community, to increase the price. They know that, and actually people also know that they're just waiting for the nomination day and also date. Also the polling day. Then once announced, then suddenly there's a peak of them actually buying tickets, everything. And that's an opportunity for travel agents or whatever to increase the price.
But where is everyone trying to go?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Going back home, I think.
Going back home.
Worse.
Yeah, the traffic has
So-
worse.
Since
Yeah,
the
very
announcement,
bad.
Yeah, but also especially like I think we talked about it, flying back to Sabah and Sarawak.
Yeah.
So I think those are very expensive.
Very.
Yeah, especially.
So not going back to vote is one thing, but there's also been word of boycott and undi rosak. So do you know anything about this development, or is this going to affect the GE15? Start again.
I think. I think Undi Rosa also started from a lot of cynicism, to, like you said, boycott because of the lack of, credible political leaders. So there is potential for it to come back again because there is even more distrust and more cynicism. However, having said that, I don't see any major developments at the moment unless I'm not following it closely enough. And I hope that it doesn't get to that point, because now more than ever, because there's a lot more coalition building, there's no more dominant parties, there's slim majorities, people should go out to vote. So hopefully that those kinds of movements, will not sabotage the bigger purpose of us acting out our democratic right. Yeah.
Doctor, do you see this becoming a problem? Do you see that this might escalate or not really?
I don't see boycott as a problem because I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be boycott during the election,
Yeah.
by the people and by the voters, But protest vote, yes,
Yeah.
it's happened in all election,
Okay.
And for example, my state of Kedah, in the last election, Barisan Nasional lost from 21 seats. They won in 2013. They only managed to win about 3 seats, in the last election because of boycott, meaning that protest vote, So because of this, I think it's become a norm now,
Okay.
when people, when candidates or those who not being selected as a candidates, they also have supporters. Then their supporters can do some things to the selected candidates, or parties, and then I think it can trigger into protest vote, and this led to many candidate or many political party lost in the election. So it is actually very real. This is
Okay,
very real.
so we can expect a couple
Yeah.
of protests happening
Yeah.
sooner or later. Well, I mean, everyone, when they come out to protest, they are usually saying the same thing. We want clean votes. We want to know that it's real. So what is happening to kind of ensure that this voting season is as clean as possible? Dr. Sue, do you have anything to say?
I think definitely, the counting of votes or people handling the votes, they have to be independent party and stuff. And also, I guess as well that the media, the influence of media is on set, every time. I think media are playing a very good role now. They are rushing everywhere and stuff so that as clear as possible it is and stuff, and social media or whatever, right? So, but the thing is like, at the end of the day, I think that now should be better than it used to be.
Hopefully.
I hope that there's no more lights off or whatever things happen and stuff. So prepare electricity and maybe torchlight and stuff. I don't know.
Phantom vote, for example.
Yeah, phantom votes. And
Yeah.
also, but also like my friend in overseas, they've been registering in online. So they have difficulties, I heard from them.
Oh,
so you have to
right.
re-register 2 to 3 times. They never give up. So
Okay.
please don't give up, okay?
Okay.
So no matter where you are and stuff, you can register online if you're overseas, and if you're here, please go and vote and everything. Yep, the rest is like, hopefully nothing dirty and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and to ensure also that we have a clean campaign,
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that keeps happening is this fake news that comes
Yeah.
up in social media. A lot of scandals, but evidence that it isn't even there.
No,
It's
yeah.
just fingers pointed and posts that are made. How do you avoid that? Because it has happened so much and it happens more and more often. So,
Yeah.
Arina, how do we...
It's definitely really, really tough because it's become more of a norm.
Yes.
I mean, it's become also almost sometimes even impossible to discern, like,
Yeah.
because it seems very, very real. But I think there have been efforts, I think, previously by the government or even by our agencies as well to educate people about online literacy and how to always fact check. I think we always have to push that. Always fact check. Don't just take whatever at face value.
Yep.
Always go back to the source. I think trusted sources are always that reference. So if it's a government website, if it's a validated website, I think always go back to that and don't just follow whatever is on
Yeah.
Facebook. So I think even Facebook has been trying to, I think there were reports which was a bit controversial, of them shutting down fake accounts.
Yes.
So even platforms are already recognizing that this is an issue. So there has to be, a collaborative effort by everyone, and also just your own initiative, right? You have to do your own checking, your own review, and your own reading, much to what Doctor said earlier. So it's not easy, and it's definitely a lot of self-initiative.
Sometimes people get stuck in echo chambers, especially on social media. And so you post one thing and something becomes viral and
Yeah.
then everything comes in to support what you've posted. So it is difficult to discern, and to monitor that is difficult. It's
Yeah.
not, it's something that should be at something that we're thinking about if we're going to take campaigning politically. So of all the political parties, I mean, who do you see as coming out with, a vision of the future of Malaysia that is most prepared, especially for what's coming next year? I'm going to start with Dr. Sue again.
I'm not prepared.
Your expressions are just so
thinking.
fantastic.
For me, I think that we mentioned early the discussion. I want to see a new leader leading our country, actually. Someone who have contended so long and stuff. Of course, he might not be perfect, but this is not a perfect time as well. Maybe
Yes.
he will win it because, he had been waiting for quite long. and been a lot of things like what do you say, that this sort of strategy and timing might angle him into some winning position because some parties' track record is quite bad now. So that also, Rakyat will,
I mean, when they've been there for so long,
yeah,
there's a lot of history to look
Yeah.
back on and criticize.
yeah. So might have a surprise win. Who knows?
Someone new, someone
Yeah,
younger.
someone new maybe. Yeah.
Doctor, what do you think? Which political party for you stands out the most as having a clear direction?
No, I think it depends on after. Actually, the best time for me to comment about this or your question. After I listen also, get the list of candidates.
Candidates,
yeah.
Because normally, after that, I think probably we know which party have a best preparation, in order to win the election. Because sometimes it depends on the wave, of support. It can change dramatically at the end,
Yeah.
But for me, any party who able to win in the election, they actually the one who dominates the wave at the end of the election during the campaigning period. That's what happened to Pakatan Harapan last time. I'm not sure this time. Just waiting for nomination day, and is that if there is a move, among the people where they're going to support, which party they're going to support. Then from there, I think we can determine, this party going to win. So now I think it's more open playing field. Any party can win right now, but depends on the last, meaning that the last week of the campaigning period, then we can know who's going to be better to win.
Harian, what do you think?
I
How
think
do you
I
feel?
echo similar sentiments to Prof. It's a bit early for me to tell because I think we're not even sure of who is being placed. I think even
Yeah.
YBKJ,
Yeah,
also
yeah.
we don't know
Yes.
where he's going to be competing after Rembau. So it's still a bit uncertain. But I think what's interesting, and I see a common trend, is that now voters don't want to see political parties saying that vote for us because they're bad. Like that's not enough, like that you need to go deeper than
Yeah,
that. Like as long
stronger
as it's not
argument.
them, I have a stronger argument. What actually are you offering to the citizens? So I think, and what's concrete plans, concrete proposals, and I think that's something that's lacking at the moment. It's not really strong. It's not really cohesive as much. So hopefully that will be refined at the campaign period. Then we'll see, like Prof said, towards the end, and we'll see who is the one leading towards that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go to the final little section, and we have 5 million new voters, young voters. So if you have to tell them something, encourage them in the way to come in and vote, what would you be saying to them? How would you encourage them to get more politically savvy? I'm going to start, Dr. Siong will work. way
I think
around.
that, to all the young voters out there, I hope that, start from young, even 5 million of them, the new people, but you guys are like the babies for the future for us and stuff. And you might see things which we don't see.
It's true.
I want to know their perspective. Nowadays, I learn more, when mixing with the young people. So coming into the voting scene, don't be afraid. You guys meant something to the whole thing as well, regardless of you guys are small or whatever. But I bet that, you guys are very brilliant where, you guys know how to make the decision and make it on behalf where you're going to pinpoint whatever we can't see and stuff. So, yeah, I think that that generation people vote starting when young and stuff so that one day it become a habit and leading towards a more integrity
Hopefully.
country. Yeah.
Dr. Azizuddin?
Yeah, I think I encourage everybody, particularly the young voters, to come and vote in the election. Don't worry so much about the election. It's a fiesta for everybody, to participate in the democratic process. And the only job for you, only duty for all citizens, not only the young, actually to cast the vote in the election. That's the most important thing because we deserve to choose the best government that we believe they're going to govern us for the next 5 years. And so that's use your do something and also do your duty, to lift up our democracy and choose the best government that you think can serve us better in the future.
Arina, your final thoughts for these 5 million new voters and how to encourage them and everyone to come in and vote.
Yeah, I think the first thing is the notion that you don't matter or your voice doesn't matter because you're one person is, I would say, false. It does matter. A single vote does matter. So do your reading and then go out and vote. The second thing is, although it's also a false reality to say that it doesn't impact you now and you can opt out of it now, because the policies that are made today will impact you in the next 5 years. So this is actually an investment for you, because you will see these policies in the next 5 years, or even if these policies are retracted, it will come again under
You're
a new
voting for your
government.
future.
You're voting for your future, literally. So you can't say that I'm not involved, I don't really care. It will impact you, even regardless of whether you go out and vote. So why not take that chance? Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sue,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Azizudin, Arina,
you.
and to all of our audience members out there, thank you so much for joining us. You heard it here. It is your duty to go out and vote, but don't worry, this election season is a fiesta. So go and do it. Vote for your future. If you want to keep up with updates, follow us on sinardaily.my. My name is Thora Vadilio. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you all very soon.